Are you looking for a way to level up your English? Have you tried reading, but you always get bored or find it too hard? Then listen to this episode, The Apple Tree. Once upon a time, in the quiet town of Willowbrook, there stood an apple tree that was unlike any other. It was a towering giant, its roots digging deep into the rich soil of the orchard, its branches reaching high into the azure sky. The people of Willowbrook simply called it the apple tree. This tree was more than just a source of delicious fruit. It was a source of legends and mysteries. The townsfolk often gathered beneath its sprawling canopy to share stories of the past, present, and future. They believed that the tree had a special kind of magic, a connection to something beyond the ordinary. The story of the apple tree began with an old man named Mr. Hargrove, who had lived in Willowbrook for as long as anyone could remember. He was the town's historian and the unofficial guardian of the tree. Mr. Hargrove had a twinkle in his eye, and his long grey beard lent him an air of wisdom that no one could deny. He would sit beneath the tree, his back supported by the gnarled trunk, and spin tales of the tree's origins. According to him, the apple tree had been planted by the first settlers who arrived in Willowbrook over a century ago. They had brought with them a sapling from their homeland, and with great care and devotion, they had nurtured it into the majestic tree it had become. The tree had seen generations of Willowbrook's residents, had watched as children grew into adults, and as couples exchanged vows beneath its branches. Some even said that when a couple made their vows under its leaves, their love was bound to be everlasting. This legend had brought lovers from far and wide to seek the blessings of the apple tree. One hot summer's day, as the sun bathed the orchard in a golden glow, a young woman named Alice ventured into Willowbrook. She had heard tales of the apple tree and its mystical powers, and she couldn't resist the allure of the legend. Alice was an artist by heart, and she had been traveling the country searching for inspiration. With her sketchbook in hand, she arrived at the orchard where the tree stood tall and imposing. Its branches were heavy with ripe apples, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, sending dappled sunlight dancing across the grass. Alice knew she had found her muse. For weeks, Alice came to the orchard each day, sketching and painting the apple tree from every angle. She felt a deep connection to it, as if it whispered secrets to her through the rustling leaves. As she sketched, she overheard the townspeople talking about the tree's magic, its ability to fulfill wishes and change destinies. One evening, as the sun was setting in hues of pink and gold, Alice found herself alone with Mr. Hargrove beneath the tree. He was sitting in his usual spot, and she approached him with a shy smile. "Good evening, Mr. Hargrove," she greeted him. "Evening, my dear," he replied with a warm smile. "What brings you here today?" Alice hesitated for a moment, but then decided to share her deepest desire. "I've heard stories about the magic of the apple tree, how it can make wishes come true. Is that true, Mr. Hargrove?" Mr. Hargrove chuckled softly. "Well, my dear, the magic of this tree is a matter of faith and belief. Some say it has the power to change destinies. Others say it's just a tale to entertain children. What is it that you wish for, Alice? Alice gazed at the tree's towering branches, her heart pounding. I wish for inspiration, Mr. Hargrove. I'm an artist, and I've been searching for that spark, that one idea that will bring my work to life. Mr. Hargrove nodded knowingly. You know, Alice, inspiration can come from the most unexpected places. Perhaps the apple tree can help you find it. Sit down and I'll tell you a story about the tree that might shed some light on its magic. Alice sat beside Mr. Hargrove, her sketchbook in her lap, ready to listen to his tale. A long time ago, Mr. Hargrove began, there was a young man named Daniel who lived in Willow Brook. He was a dreamer and a poet, always in search of the perfect verse to capture the beauty of the world. But for all his searching, he found himself staring at a blank page more often than not. One day, Daniel came to the apple tree, much like you have, Alice. He sat beneath its branches and poured out his heart to it. He told the tree about his dreams and his longing for the perfect poem. He stayed there all night, whispering his hopes and wishes to the tree. As dawn broke, something extraordinary happened. The first rays of sunlight touched the leaves of the apple tree, and a soft voice seemed to resonate from its branches. It was as if the tree itself was speaking, and it recited a poem of such beauty and depth that it brought tears to Daniel's eyes. Alice listened with rapt attention, her heart racing. What happened to Daniel, Mr. Hargrove? Did he become a famous poet? Mr. Hargrove smiled. Oh, Daniel did become a poet of some renown, and his work was celebrated far and wide. But more importantly, he found the inspiration he had longed for beneath the branches of the apple tree. It was as if the tree had granted his wish. Alice's eyes sparkled with excitement. Do you think the tree can do the same for me, Mr. Hargrove? Mr. Hargrove placed a weathered hand on her shoulder. My dear, I believe that the apple tree has the power to touch the hearts of those who believe in it. Whether it's a force of nature or simply the power of belief, well, that's a question that has puzzled generations of Willowbrook residents. With renewed determination, Alice continued to visit the orchard, pouring her heart and soul into her art. She whispered her desires and dreams to the tree and listened to the rustling leaves in the hope of receiving the same divine inspiration that had touched Daniel. Weeks turned into months, and as the seasons changed, so did the orchard. Autumn arrived, painting the leaves of the apple tree in brilliant shades of red and gold. The air grew crisper, and the apples became even more enticing. Yet, despite her efforts, Alice had not experienced the same miraculous inspiration that Daniel had. One chilly afternoon, as she sat sketching beneath the tree, her fingers numb with cold, a young man named Caleb approached. He was a newcomer to Willow Brook. His eyes filled with a sense of adventure and curiosity. His reasons for coming to the town were unknown, and he had an air of mystery about him. Caleb noticed Alice, her sketchbook open, and her face a picture of determination. He smiled and approached her. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he remarked, his voice soft. Startled, Alice looked up at the stranger and nodded, her cheeks flushed from the cold. "Yes, it is. There's something special about this tree, something magical." Caleb's gaze lingered on the tree's branches, as if he too could sense its mystique. "They say the apple tree can make wishes come true." Alice's heart skipped a beat. "You've heard the stories too." Caleb chuckled, his eyes gleaming with a mischievous glint. "Indeed I have. In fact, that's why I came to Willowbrook, to make a wish." Alice's curiosity was piqued. "What is it that you wish for, Caleb?" Caleb sat down beside her, his eyes never leaving the tree. "I wish for adventure, Alice. I've always felt that there's more to life than the ordinary. I want to experience something extraordinary, something that will make my heart race and my spirit soar." Alice couldn't help but smile. "That's a wonderful wish, Caleb. I hope the apple tree grants it for you." Caleb turned to her with a grin. "What about you, Alice? What do you wish for?" Alice hesitated for a moment, her gaze fixed on the branches above. "I wish for inspiration, Caleb. I'm an artist and I've been searching for that one idea that will bring my work to life. I want to create something beautiful, something that moves people." Caleb nodded in understanding. "Well, Alice, maybe the apple tree will grant both our wishes. Let's stay here and see what happens." As the day turned into evening, the two of them sat together beneath the tree, their hopes and dreams intermingling with the rustling leaves. The moon rose high in the sky and the stars began to twinkle. It was a magical night, one that neither of them would ever forget. Days turned into weeks, and Alice and Caleb continued to visit the apple tree, forming a deep bond. They shared stories and dreams, and their friendship blossomed into something more profound. The tree seemed to weave its magic around them, for they felt as if they were on the brink of an extraordinary adventure. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the orchard, Alice and Caleb sat side by side beneath the tree's branches. They had grown closer over the weeks, and their connection had deepened. Caleb turned to Alice, his gaze intense. "Alice, there's something I want to tell you. I've come to Willowbrook not just for adventure, but to find something, or rather someone. I believe the apple tree has the power to lead me to what I seek." Alice looked at him, intrigued. "What is it that you're looking for, Caleb?" Caleb took a deep breath, his eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and longing. "I'm searching for my father. He left when I was a child, and I've never known where he went. All I have is a faded photograph of him standing beneath a tree that looks just like this one." Alice's heart went out to Caleb, and she reached out to place a comforting hand on his arm. "Caleb, that's a noble quest. I hope that the apple tree can help you find the answers you seek." Caleb smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Alice. And what about you? Have you found the inspiration you've been looking for?" Alice hesitated for a moment, her gaze drifting to the tree's branches. "Not yet, Caleb, but I have a feeling that the apple tree has something extraordinary in store for us." As the days passed, Alice and Caleb's friendship grew into a deep and abiding love. They continued to visit the tree, sharing their dreams and wishes with it. The town of Willowbrook watched their relationship with great interest, for they believed that the apple tree had a way of uniting kindred souls. One warm spring afternoon, as Alice and Caleb sat beneath the tree, their fingers intertwined, a gentle breeze began to stir. It seemed to carry with it the faint strains of a melodious tune, a song of hope and adventure. The leaves rustled in harmony with the tune, and the world around them seemed to come alive. Alice and Caleb exchanged a look of wonder. "Do you hear that, Caleb?" Alice asked, her eyes shining. Caleb nodded, his heart racing with anticipation. "I do, Alice. It's as if the tree is trying to tell us something." They listened intently as the melody continued, growing stronger and more enchanting. It was a song that seemed to come from the very heart of the apple tree, a song that resonated with their deepest desires. The tune was so beautiful that Alice felt her eyes well up with tears. "Caleb, it's as if the tree is granting our wishes, just like it did for Daniel." Caleb leaned in and kissed her gently. "I believe it is, Alice. Our wishes are coming true, and it's taking us on an extraordinary adventure." The music filled the orchard, and Alice and Caleb felt an irresistible urge to follow it. They rose to their feet, still holding hands, and began to walk in the direction of the enchanting melody. The tree's branches seemed to guide them, leading them deeper into the orchard and into a world of wonder. They walked for what seemed like hours, following the music through the orchard and into the heart of the woods. The moon hung high in the sky, bathing the world in a silvery glow. The melody grew stronger with each step, and Alice and Caleb felt as if they were being drawn into a magical realm. Finally, they arrived at a clearing in the woods, and there, beneath a sky filled with stars, they found what they had been seeking. It was a tree, much like the apple tree in Willowbrook, its branches reaching high into the night. The music swirled around them, and they realized that it was coming from this tree. Caleb's eyes filled with tears as he recognized the place from the faded photograph of his father. He fell to his knees, his heart overwhelmed with emotion. "This is it, Alice. I've found the tree, the very spot where my father stood." Alice wrapped her arms around Caleb, sharing in his joy and relief. "I'm so happy for you, Caleb. It's a beautiful moment, and I'm glad I could be a part of it." Caleb looked into Alice's eyes, his love for her shining brightly. "You've been a part of the most beautiful chapter of my life, Alice. This adventure has brought us together, and I can't imagine a future without you in it." Alice's heart swelled with happiness, and she whispered, "Caleb, I love you. I've found my inspiration in you, and I want to spend the rest of my life creating art with you by my side." Caleb smiled, his eyes filled with tenderness. I love you too, Alice. Let's make this moment the beginning of our own extraordinary adventure. And so, beneath the starry sky and the whispering leaves of the enchanted tree, Alice and Caleb pledged their love and vowed to journey through life together. The music continued to play, a timeless melody that seemed to celebrate their love and the magic of the apple tree. As the years passed, Alice and Caleb returned to Willowbrook, where their love story had begun. They shared their adventures and the tale of the apple tree with the people of the town. The tree continued to be a place of magic and wonder, granting wishes and changing destinies. The legend of the apple tree lived on, a testament to the power of belief and the extraordinary journeys that love and faith can inspire. And Alice and Caleb, with their hearts forever intertwined, continued to create art and cherish the magic of the tree that had brought them together. In Willowbrook, the apple tree remained a symbol of hope, love, and the belief that extraordinary adventures could be found in the most unexpected places. And so, the story of the apple tree, with its whispered secrets and melodies of inspiration, continued to enchant the hearts of those who dared to believe in its magic. The end. Thanks for watching.